Connect, grow, and give back. This is the motto under which infrastructure masons have been trying to fight against talent shortage and bring diversity to the table. Joining me today is founder and chairman, Dean Nelson, who talks about the talent shortage and the diversity problems in the sector. Dean, thanks a lot for talking to me.
Yeah.
Let's start with the general question. Where are we with the talent shortage? And in terms of diversity, where are we as well as a market?
It's an interesting time right now because people don't believe there is a talent shortage. They think we're fine. And the problem is,
things are not.
yeah, when you start to really touch the base with the people that are hiring, whether it's the providers or the end users, etc., what you see is they're stealing from each other. So they're taking people from all these different companies and they're moving around. And then you have an aging population that's going to age out. What they're not seeing is that we don't have the pipeline of talent coming in. So I would say there's at least 100,000 jobs over the next 5 years, and I believe that's a smaller number. I think it's going to be bigger than that are going to be coming up, and we don't have the people filling that pipeline. We don't have the universities prepped. We don't have the actual programs set up that will attract those people in here so that they can fill those jobs.
And this is globally?
This is globally.
Okay. And how do you think that's going to hinder the development of new things like edge and even the growth of the data center sector?
So the main issue right now is that the demand is continuing to increase. It's exponential in a lot of different areas. The amount of data growth, data centers have never actually been built this fast. So you think of just the Ashburn, like Northern Virginia area, there are almost 300 megawatts of new construction underway right now. Then you think of Phoenix, Arizona. Then you think of the rest of the world. So there's gigawatts worth of infrastructure being built. For what? Because we are consuming that infrastructure. And that's just continuing to go up. And then you look at AI and the emerging aspects around how we're getting information and making the lives easier for everyone. That's going to consume more compute. That's going to be storing more data. That's going to be consuming more network. And the challenge is still that all of the people that are running the infrastructure today have a certain amount of talent there. And then if we're not grooming that pipeline or prepping that pipeline to get more in, we're going to have a shortage, and then there's going to be a crisis. And so I think of the US, there was a nursing crisis that happened about 20, 25 years ago.
Okay.
They didn't have enough nurses coming into the field, and suddenly they had to do a huge amount of incentives to try and just get people to come in there. But there was this lag, and then you got a challenge. How can I deliver the infrastructure that's needed? And we run at the internet speed, so there is no lag.
No slowdown.
Yeah, in other words, the people have to have what they want. And so all of us have to figure out a way that we can grease that pipeline, right? So that we can get more people coming in. That's where I think the gap is today.
Because when you say that some people are not even aware of what's happening or the lack of talent out there, the 100,000 jobs, for example, are a lot of people deploying their hopes on artificial intelligence and AI, artificial intelligence and automation?
Yeah.
Is there a misconception between what AI is actually going to do for us in terms of replacing jobs and actually not replacing them because we still need humans to do their job?
So I think there's both. AI will reduce jobs, but the demand is going to increase other jobs. And no matter what, AI will address a number of the areas, and it's going to get more and more efficient over time. And yes, we're going to have computers and all of these algorithms that are doing these things that people are doing today, but the problem is that we're just going to keep compounding the demand. Okay. And yes, they can scale, but there's a lot of jobs that they can't do. And when will they be here? So AI is fascinating. There's a new book called AI Superpowers, and it's written by the top AI researcher in China. And he shows the difference between Silicon Valley and China and that really big battle about AI. But it's just, when you start to think about the numbers, it's staggering how fast. So you remember the adoption of the phone and the adoption of other technology, how rapidly everything is going up. But there's the other side of that. That requires massive amounts of compute. It requires the infrastructure to continue to expand, more fiber, more circuits, as well as more data centers to powering this, the compute side. All of that is compounding into a need. And I think the challenge today is still that people are assuming that we have enough people to do this, and we don't, right? There's going to be more. They're assuming that there'll be more talent coming in from universities. That's not aligned. And then they're also assuming that cloud will just eat the data center. We don't need data centers anymore.
One of those hypes.
Yeah, the problem is cloud is a data center. It's just run by hyperscalers. And no matter what, you have to be able to compute all this stuff. So as that continues to compound, and exponentially grow, we have to build the infrastructure for it, and we have to build a foundation of people to support that, and we have to build the AI that allow us to be able to scale faster than we ever have.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, yeah. And it brings me to my next point, because you've recently announced the $1 million budget, or, the Education Challenge, where you're going to be helping students enter the market. Can you explain more about that?
Yeah, so our advisory council gets together multiple times a year, and these are some of the biggest players in the industry, and they talk about what's on their mind. It's top of mind. It's very simple. We ask one question, 3 hours later we're done.
Okay.
Because each of the people are going in and saying, well, this is what I'm working on, here's the challenges I'm facing, and that sparks a conversation with lots of others. And the theme that keeps coming back up is, I can't hire enough people. So, whether they're building data centers or designing hardware or deploying capacity, they can't get enough people in the right places. So for example, some of the folks at Microsoft, they're going to build 40 megawatts a month, and they can't get enough electricians. Okay, just the electrician, right? That trade. But then you think of all the other things that add up for it. The compute side. So for every data center, there's like 10x the jobs around all the things that stack up in that data center. The hardware, the network, the operational aspects of it, the software. All those pieces add up into more and more jobs. So what we did is, okay, we have a talent shortage. Whether people believe it or not, we have a talent shortage here or emerging or coming up in a very, very short amount of time. And so what are we going to do about it as a professional association? We need to incentivize. So we created the $1 million education challenge. We launched this in London last year. So we wanted to do this as a hyperscaler type growth. So we have a $50,000 scholarship fund. Well, let's do 20x growth. So we're going to go for $1 million. Why? Because we want to incentivize more people coming in. Now, the only way that works is you can have money and give it away, but if there's no programs for them to go into, if there's no awareness that this industry exists and these careers and challenging career opportunities are there, they're not going to come. So we have to help them understand, this is the industry, these are the things that you can actually do, here's the rewarding and lucrative careers that you can get, and then here are the jobs that you can fill. So we're trying to do all three of those things. Create the awareness, create the programs from an education standpoint, and then fund it with scholarships. And this is global. Okay.
And you've seen market awareness coming out of this?
Absolutely.
Are people taking it on board nicely and understanding these 100,000?
Yeah, well, so we've had these data center tours and just informational discussions on things. So for example, I go over to different colleges and universities and I start with a simple question. Do you know what a data center is? 99% of the room are like, I don't know this word, data stored? But they don't understand.
What the cloud is.
Well, see, it gets to those questions. So what is the cloud? It's like, oh, yeah, we use that. Well, how does it work? I just use it. And that goes right back to our main point is 99% of the world don't understand the criticality of this infrastructure. They don't know it exists, but they depend upon it every day.
But I think from the data center side of things, we've always been sort of a closed industry as well. We never really wanted to show our assets to the outside world, to the consumer world. Is there something that sort of has to change as we become even more dependent? People start asking questions?
Yeah.
There's a lot of questions on the telecommunication space with the issues that we know about. But do you think the data center really needs to open his doors a little bit more?
Yes, and it is already happening. There was these data centers are mission critical and no one can know where they are. We can't brand them. They just need to be nondescript buildings, etc. But I think people are coming away from that the physical security of the data center is important. But we need people to understand when they open up their phone and they're on WeChat or they're doing Instagram or any other social network or business transaction that's going over a network and going into a data center. And a data center is basically the big plant, a data plant that drives the world. We're the builders of the foundation, the builders of the digital age, and they need to understand that. So we're creating an awareness campaign, and we're partnering with a number of our supporters to be able to now be able to do that both into younger folks, like in middle school, into high school, but also into the awareness into colleges. So imagine freshmen as they come in, they're not sure exactly what they want to do. I played around with this in high school, I may have this, but the majority of them don't know what they want to do yet, and they're discovering in school. You need to hit them early. Okay. And that is that, by the way, come over and take a look at this. And if you can connect them, like you said, what is the cloud? If you can connect them to what they do every day. So what applications
understand the criticality.
Yeah. So for example, I was just in India a few months ago, and in the remote northeastern mountains of India, and my mom and I build these schools over there. Well, there's like 3 phones in the whole village.
Well, how many people?
Thousands, right? And so right, they're just disconnected in a lot of ways, but they still see it. And so I went and I taught a digital infrastructure 101 course.
Yeah.
And I said, this is what the internet is. And here's what it means when you take a picture. So I snap a picture of them, put it on WeChat and send it to a friend. And we walked through that transaction.
Yeah.
And I said, there are thousands and thousands of jobs everywhere, and every one of you can fill them if you're interested. But think of that one little spark to say there's an opportunity with a career this way. That's what we need to do, is to make sure they even know that there's a path they can take. Because today the majority of them don't. They say computer science, business, finance, some other direction. Foundational infrastructure that runs the world. Very, very rewarding careers and lucrative.
Yeah, because I guess the education system needs to change all around, but the economy is also changing. So I think governments are still trying to get to the grips as well with what's happening on the digital space.
I agree, but I think there's just some fine tuning. So think about every college or university. What do they care about? They're trying to attract students in with the right programs so they can go get them jobs. Very simple model.
And these are really well-paid jobs as well.
Yeah, but my main thing is, what are the jobs? What's the addressable market? So when you talk to the deans of these things, and whether engineering or computer science or that type of thing, what they're saying, okay, great, these students are going to come in. What jobs are they going to get? We need to help them with that. Okay. So today here at Data Cloud, we have a job ladder working session with a bunch of our members. And we're trying to create the taxonomy and the structure that will allow them to understand these are the career opportunities. Then we tie that back to a heat map to say these are the jobs that are being filled right now. Then we go back and tie it to, and here's the programs at the universities. And then the last one is, here's the scholarships that will actually pay for you to go to school. And by the way, we are the hiring people.
Yes.
So it's just
we'll help you
great.
with this and we'll give you a job after.
Right. So that, but it just comes down to, are you aware that there's an opportunity? And the majority of the universities and colleges don't have the insight. They just haven't been exposed to it yet. Right? When they have it, they're just machines. They'll create programs, curriculum, et cetera, line it up and awareness campaigns for their own students, but we need to help them understand. So today we have 26 different programs at 13 different universities across the world that are aligned to our scholarship program. That needs to be hundreds. So we're working on that too.
This is probably pushing it a bit too much, but would you even consider going into primary schools, really showing kids how the internet works?
Yeah, that's your insight is absolutely correct because so Terry Simpkins is she's really she literally has a doctorate in this. And so when you start talking to her about when do children make a decision on a career, you'd be surprised how young it is.
How young is it?
When they're in like 4 or 5 years old.
Okay.
And why is that? Because they look on television and they see different people.
Yeah.
And if they don't see someone like them, then that's not an option. They see nurses, right, that are female and doctors that are male. And so the girls go back and say, oh, I can be a nurse, instead of, I can be a doctor. So it just sets something in their mind. And so the society sets a lot of these pieces. So you got to get to it early. First off, from a diversity standpoint, to say anybody can do any job. Right? And then the next part of it is, this is what is the possibility for you. So I agree, it needs to start younger. That's a hard one because we need to be able to actually share this in a consistent way that's going to be compelling for the students at that age. And so I think we need to figure out ways in which we have a package, or people like us can walk in and say, why is it relevant to an 8-year-old?
Yeah, to learn about
How could you excite them about what they're going to be doing in 10 to 15 years? That's a difficult thing.
Oh, I know, yes, especially because they change their minds very easily.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned diversity as well, which ties into the talent shortage. What are the infrastructure that Mason's doing around diversity? I know you've got a gala in Monaco this year to help raise some funds as well.
And I'm very proud of that. This one is really neat. So, the Diversity and Inclusion Gala is to raise money for our scholarship fund. And this is where we're uniting the builders of the digital age. It's great to have all these competitive folks coming together for one cause. And so we are 100% of the actual scholarships, right, the money from this one are going to be going to women. Okay. So if you look at our diversity program, last year we gave out the Diversity Champion Award, right? And we did that focused on gender because less than 10% of our industry is female. So we have a gender problem, right? But then it's wider than that. You start to think of all the other underrepresented groups. So we're expanding that out. Okay. And we're doing that through member resource groups. Okay. So we've got a D&I umbrella, and then we start doing these specific groups to say, so for example, I Am Women. It's where women can come together and they have a common place with a common discussion to be able to support each other. Then you've got I am millennials. So we're talking about Gen X and millennials. Because it really comes down to, can I have a conversation with somebody else who understands me? So a tether, kind of a place for them to come together. Then we also have I am Hispanic, and we're announcing that this year as well. We're looking at that Latin community and how we can attract them back in. And then we also have I am Veterans. And so we've done a partnership with Salute. So Lee Kirby runs Salute. And that's because there's a whole nother channel of talent. And so we have a diversity problem, but if you look at the diversity thing, it's the result. We have a business problem. We're not getting enough people, and we're missing half the population with our addressable market.
And the market just keeps growing.
Yeah, so if diversity is a business opportunity as well, if we can go attract all the diverse folks back into it, we solve a huge problem. First off, there's talented people on that side that don't even know there's an opportunity. And that's just the nature of our industry right now. Right, we have a gender problem and we have an underrepresented groups problem.
Okay. Well, when you talk about underrepresented groups problem, we're already touching the BAME side of things, so Black, Asians, and minority ethics. What other sort of minority ethics are you looking into? And then maybe some different groups as well, like LGBT or something like that. You bring all those people into the discussion as well.
And we're being very, very methodical about how we're doing this. We started with one of the biggest problems we saw, which was gender. Less than 10%. Then we're widening that net to be able to say underrepresented groups need to be in there as well. And we'll continue to expand that out. But I want to make sure that what we're doing is helping to get motivation or movement on each of these as we go forward. Because we can talk about it all day, but if we don't actually do something, it's a waste of breath. So these are the things that we're going after, and that's why I'm proud of this D&I Gala, is that we literally have, I think it's 15 different companies coming together that are competitive, all uniting on trying to go back and raise money to solve this problem.
Which doesn't happen a lot.
Right.
Should happen a bit more.
It's great, and just the excitement, around that to say that there's something tangible about what we can actually get done. And again, it's the uniting the builders of the digital age to make that happen. That's why a professional association like Infrastructure Masons is so critical. It's a place when we can come together where we leave our companies at the door. It's about us. It's about our careers. It's about the network. It's about connecting, growing, and giving back. And that has worked out really well in this last 3 years. I'm just very proud of what the community has actually done with this.
So what does the next 3 years hold for Infrastructure Masons?
It's growth. Here we go, just like hyperscale again. I think that we're a couple thousand people, but if you look at this conference, there's more than that at this conference. So, I mean, they represent a significant amount of the portfolio, like over $150 billion worth of infrastructure projects in over 130 countries are represented by 100 of our members.
Okay. And so big numbers are going to go.
Yeah, and that's just going to get bigger and bigger. But the point is that we want more and more people to come into this community because power of the community, we can really now aim towards these challenges. Today is trying to get this talent pipeline fixed. Great, we'll get everybody focused on that one because we all need it. The next challenges that are coming up, we just want to be able to have our members bring them, we get them soon, and then we can align our strategies every year of how we focus on those.
Okay. Then you've been coming to Monaco, I think this is your third time as Infrastructure Masons at least. Yeah. How important is this conference to you? You're also involved with the Data Cloud Awards, so you're giving an award out this year, and you gave one last year as well. How involved are you? How important is the conference for your group?
I think conferences like this are where things happen. Business happens here. So you'll be able to get away from the office. You come in and have conversations with people that you may not normally have conversations with. Okay. And that's extremely valuable, that connection. And so this is the type of environment that actually lets that happen. So the reason we're here and that we invest in this is we've got 40 people going to the awards dinner. Right? 40 Infrastructure Masons leaders.
Big contingent.
Yeah, but we're also giving out the Infrastructure Masons Sustainability Champion Award. Last year was the Diversity Award. This year's Sustainability.
What will be next year?
We've got 3 or 4 different options, but there's too many to choose from.
Yeah.
But we're really focusing on our strategic priorities. We do believe that as an industry, we make decisions every day that are critical for the planet. When you are controlling hundreds of millions or billions of dollars worth of investments, you have the ability to push the right things. And if you don't have a sustainability agenda at the beginning of that one, you're going to get exactly what you you ask for. You'll get a dirty power plant that's cheap. But if you're saying, I want renewable energy from day one that's cost effective, everyone will get creative and actually make that happen because they want the investment, right? Each of those business office, development offices.
But, and then to finish as well, but sometimes there are some problems there because companies like Microsoft, Google, etc., they can build their own solar farms and wind farms and everything else. But when you have colocation companies buying energy from the grids, which is sold to them as renewable, but then when you go and dig deeper and you do notice it's not 100% renewable, how do you sort of overcome those things, so the hidden renewables that don't exist?
So that's an hour-long conversation.
I know.
But the critical part is, are you really accounting the right way? So I disagree with one part of what you said.
Okay.
I know that the hyperscalers are doing huge investments and they can put their pocketbook
They can do it
into this and make it happen. But the others that are going to colos can partner up with the colos.
Okay.
Because
That's an interesting idea.
yeah, in my day job, we're able to drive that agenda because the colocation companies want to solve the problem for us. We don't build and operate our data centers that way. They're building on our behalf, but they have the buying power with a combined number of customers to be able to do it. They just need to know the demand so they can.
Okay.
So I know, and I've seen this firsthand, you can solve that. You can have an economically viable, 100% renewable solution in your data center deployments, and you don't have to be a hyperscaler.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Collaboration is key all around.
It's actually bringing and making sure that everyone's aware of what you're trying to accomplish. But if you don't have that agenda at the beginning, you'll get what you ask for. If you don't ask for it, you're not going to get it.
Well, yeah, you've got to try.
Yeah.
All right, Tim, thanks for talking to me.
Yeah.
Don't forget you can follow Data Economy on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, and also visit the website on www.data-economy.com.